I've been tagging you all over social media. I don't know if you've seen it. Alex, yay, you made it. Welcome, welcome. Julie, Gyoda. Hi, nice to see you. Everyone, I have a icebreaker for us today as we dive in, and I want to know the weirdest thing your family makes for Thanksgiving, or the weirdest thing, and then I'm going to DM you for the recipe probably. What is the weirdest thing? I would say I think this is a Midwest thing, but my husband's grandma used to make this insane punch, and it was in a bowl, and it had rainbow sherbet in it and fruit punch. Bob, are you nodding your head? Is this something familiar? I grew up in Southern California, so I had never had this as a kid. And when my husband, we went to the first Thanksgiving, I was like, what? This is so weird. This is so weird. And it's like in a bowl. It was so bizarre. But it was super, super fun. And now every year we're like, where is that punch? You feel like you had that, Megan? Yeah, totally. Cranberry jalapeno salsa. Ooh, is it good or is it gross?
It is like I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner
No
straight.
way.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Do you have a recipe?
I do. Yeah, I'll find it.
Okay,
I'll
because
put it in
I
here.
I feel like that's what I love. I'm not like a huge turkey fan, but it's like those little fun sides you have or something kind of different that somebody brings gets you excited. Anybody else have something fun that you do? Oh my gosh, Megan, I'm thinking like, do you have in-laws? I feel like this is what yes, and I'm always like, Jellos and marshmallow? Like they're still eating this? This is like, I thought this got banned in the 90s. It's called glop. Orange Jello, cottage cheese in it. Oh, Terry. Oh, I just, even the thought of that texture makes me want to vomit. That is so disgusting. This would be a really fun post on LinkedIn, wouldn't it? Like like even if you could find a nasty picture, that might be a fun thing to do. Sauerkraut, Steve, is that a gross thing or a good thing?
It depends who you are. Some people love it. Some people are like, that's the grossest thing, and it's just a tradition that we've done, and we bake it. So boil it and then bake it, and it just takes forever. But
It's
Yeah.
delicious.
it
Yeah.
is delicious
Or this is
mixed
like,
with the
yeah.
mashed potato. It's really good.
Oh,
But
wow.
not everybody likes it. Not everybody likes it.
Oh, I like fermented food. Sauerkraut's fermented, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Stacey, you're so awesome. Okay, I'm going to pull that off the chat before we end today. All right, everyone. Well, let's dive in. We're going to keep it to an hour today. Fingers crossed. And I am so excited to dive in here today. Megan, don't let me forget. Where are you? Megan's going to share a really fun win as we dive in. Anne is here as always. She was gone off a call the other day, and I was like, Anne, come back, please. I just love her presence. She's lovely, and she's in Costa Rica right now. So we can all just be jealous of her because, yes, she's a traveling nomad and lives and works all over the world. Today I have some really special things planned for you. This is also very casual bonus call. So this is where you raise your hand. This is where you say, hey, I could use some extra help here. Is this something you'd consider creating for me or for our community? That sort of a thing. We are going to ask for 1 to 3 volunteers at the end where actually we did this. Stephen, where are you? Stephen invited me. He teaches at a community college. He teaches coaching and he has a business course for coaches. So he invited me last night and it was such a blast. Like I was literally in the middle of the call. I was like, guys, this is so much fun. I could stay all night. And it was just the best. So thank you so much, Steve. But one thing we did
Thank you.
yeah, yes, yes. I just posted on LinkedIn about it. I was just love it's so fun. Everybody had my book. It was like, oh, so cool. But one thing we did is folks said, like, where are my first or next 5 clients coming from? Right. And they started to think about, and they had an idea of what that was, But how do we take that next step? And that's kind of the hardest part is like, I know there's this group, I know I have this thing. How do we put those together? So if you're in that position where, yes, there's this, this woman yesterday, she was getting her dissertation and she had this group of students and they had already raised their hands. And so we were able to talk her through those next steps. So if that's you and you're kind of stuck right there, please DM Anne and we'll pull you up to volunteer at the end today. All right. Let's do our little reading as we settle in today. And we'll set the agenda and dive in. It is November 8th. And this is good advice, but the title of this is Ease Up on Yourself. When you don't know what to do next, ease up on yourself. See how much more you accomplish, how much easier life is, how much more you enjoy life when you aren't forcing yourself. Forcing can turn into fear that the job won't get done, fear that the natural way things would evolve won't be right, fear that you're not good enough. Learn a different way, learn the way of love. Relax, sit back, let go for now. Do something different. Breathe deeply. Burn a candle, read a poem, light some sage. If fear is present, send it away. See it, feel it, and allow it to leave. Return to the task in love when it feels natural, right, and on time. Participate naturally, joyfully in creation, whether that's creation of a relationship, a dinner, a garden, or a meeting. Sometimes it's time to focus, to try hard. Sometimes it's time to ease up. See how much more you get done when you ease up. See how much more playing and laughing and enjoying gets done too. Ease up on yourself.
A good message right now.
Yes, especially at the end of the year. I'll share more with you about easing up later, but okay, so our agenda for today is Megan's going to start us off and she's going to share a win that she had recently about price anchoring. Today, we're going to learn to pre-sell our coaching for January, the nitty gritty of that. And then we're going to talk about booking calls in order to pre-sell, specifically around the new year. We're going to introduce to you the November challenge. That's very fun and light. And then we'll have those 3 volunteers, which we already talked about. So Megan, if you mind, do you mind unmuting yourself? She recently sent me a message of celebration and I wanted to, or Megan, I'd love for you to share with the group a little bit about that win for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always down to talk. So thank you for suggesting that I share. So I just sold a new client earlier this week, which was really exciting because I just quit my corporate job and I'm really going all in on my coaching business. So it was a really great win just in and of itself. But the reason I sent an audio note to Michelle is I just did just straight out of the book, right? The price anchoring technique. So I am somebody who, when I've had discovery calls in the past, I've always had a little bit of a hard time talking about the price. Like, this is kind of weird. I feel like I need to. Okay, there it is. So I'm like, I'm not going to overthink it. And so what I shared with this client was, normally I shared about the container, it's a 3-month container. We meet every 2 weeks. In between, you have access to me for all these other sort of questions and things that might come up. And normally for that 3 months, it would be $3,000. But because I'm in the process of going back to get my ACC coaching credential, and I explained a little bit about what that was, it's $1,500. And her response, I think she literally verbatim said, that discount is insane or something like that, and sold her on the spot. And she's really excited. She's like my ideal client. And so it was really a great response from her that she, because I had a client the previous week who was like, oh, that's still a big chunk of money. Didn't end up selling that client, but for this person to say, oh, that discount is insane, it felt really validating and like a great sign to continue with this price anchoring technique.
Amazing way to implement something so simple that makes such a big impact and now enable that client to get that transformation. Yes. Okay, come on, guys. Give her like a little bit of love in the chat here. She like did the thing, made the tiny shift in price anchoring, and right, she didn't change the whole thing. She didn't, she just took this little piece and said, hey, I can make that better. And wow, the response immediately from the client. Now, Megan, when you think about now going to host your next sales call, how do you feel? Does that shift anything for you in that next call?
I feel a lot more confident for sure. I do feel like I actually am now feeling, because I got some feedback from a mentor of mine who was like, oh, you could sell your coaching for, way more than that. And so I almost feel like 1,500 is like a really no brainer. And so I think really empowering when I'm talking to future clients, where before even 1,500 felt like a lot to ask for. And now it feels like, oh, this is really a discount. And, I hope that you take me up on it.
Yes. Oh, that's so fantastic. So can I ask a couple follow-up questions?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you book this client onto the sales call?
Yeah. So she is somebody that she mentioned she'd been following me for a couple of years. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and my former role was as a recruiter. So a lot of people would connect with me because they were interested in the company that I was working for. And they stuck around. There's actually been a couple of discovery calls this week that are like, yeah. And this particular client said, I wanted to book with you sooner, but there's a disclaimer on my website that says if you're interested in working at EcoCart, that I can't work with you as a coach. That would be a conflict of interest. So she was really excited to be able she's like, and I saw you quit. So I was like, went in and booked a call. So found her on LinkedIn. She had been following me for a while, went out of her way to book that call.
Fantastic. Absolutely perfect. Perfect person in your network, right? You already knew them, and that's really kind of an aha, I think, as people step into those first 5 clients, is like, they're already around you. How do we get them to raise their hand and say they're interested and take that next step? So thank you so much for sharing that, Megan. That's awesome.
Thank you for the technique, because I don't think I would have the confidence to, sell it for that much. I was like, I'm just going to do it exactly as written and see how it goes. And
what do you have to lose, right? What do you have to lose? What's so exciting to me is immediately you're like, that price, it shifted for you, right?
Yeah.
Like now that 3,000. So, that next client and that next client. So remember those rules of 3s, maybe it's even less for you, right? When sell for 3 at 1,500, and then it's time to move up, or where it is, when it starts to shift for you, when you're ready. And it might be before 3, but I do like having a rule in place so you don't charge 1,500 for the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we are going to talk about, and this might even be perfect for you, Megan, is pre-selling your coaching in the new year. So pre-selling your coaching is a great idea all year long, but especially around the holidays. And the reason why it's great around the holidays is that humans love to put off their work on themselves for the future. We are literally putting the tasks on our future self. And for some reason, our brains love that. So what you can do in November and December, it's a great time to book calls and to pre-sell them with a January start date. So we'll talk about what that looks like exactly as far as pricing goes. And we want to have, before we dive into pricing, we want to have something for them to do between now and the start date. And I was hoping Sylvia was going to be on this call, but it doesn't have to be something big. Last night, Steve and I were holding up Atomic Habits. What a great book to send somebody for the new year and say, hey, read this before our first coaching call. That's your homework. And we'll dive into this and other techniques to step into your goals, right? A lot of us are ICF coaches and we really don't like to assign homework, right? We really don't want to go out of that boundary. It doesn't feel comfortable to us. Sylvia messaged me recently and she was so excited because she sold her first client into her container of support as well, like Megan. And the client had 2 really big goals. And she was able to go on Amazon, do some research, read reviews, and find 2 books, not one, that was around the goal of the client. She sent those books to the client, and the client sent her back a note of just immense gratitude. Here she'd been heard, and she was given a tool to step into her big dream. Hot damn. Right? So we have maybe an Atomic Habits on the side in case the coach doesn't give us anything, right? But they probably will. And we can even say, hey, it's a surprise. It's coming. Let yourself off the hook. It's a surprise. It's coming. And then you can even message me and say, hey, do you have an idea? You could post it in the LinkedIn group and think through what we want them to do before that first session. And something just tiny and small like the wheel exercise. And I can pull that for you if you need the Wheel of Life exercise. That's a fantastic thing to do around the holidays. And you could even, we'll do a little recording to help walk them through that to set them up for success in January. Okay, let's talk about cost. So one of the reasons why it's nice to start a month later, 2 months later, is you can spread out that payment plan. Okay, so for right now, I know it's going to feel a little bit weird, but you just go ahead. If you're charging $1,500, you just go ahead and charge now. I don't know why, but nobody will care about this. So you just go ahead and go, okay, let's go ahead and get you started. I'll send that out to you. We'll start in January. We'll take that first payment now. It's just completely fine. It's even elongating that container of support. Okay. So they're almost relieved to not have to step into this. So let's say, and is anybody charging more? Stacy, anybody else charging more than $1,500? Could you put it in the chat and then we could break down the payments for you? Anybody have one? Sorry. Okay, perfect. So Bob says he's charging about $3,000 for 5 sessions. So Bob 1, I'm going to wiggle that tooth. Let's take the word sessions out of it. We don't want somebody breaking down the cost per session, right? We're doing something, I don't want to say wrong, but we could do better.
Absolutely.
With our sales conversation. If
Yep.
somebody's breaking it down by sessions, that's when you reach out to me and go, hey, what am I doing wrong? They took out a calculator. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we're charging $3,000 for how long is the container of support, Bob?
Well, I have to convert now from sessions to months, but I would say 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect. So if we're starting in January,
Mhm.
that gives us 5 months.
Yeah.
Right? So we always want the payments to finish before the client is done with the container of support. So that's really important. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's say we have $3,000. We could divide that by 5, and that would be $600.
Mhm.
Okay. So you'd go ahead and get started with that $600 activation today. The first of 4 payments would come out 30 days later. Okay. So Bob, you're really selling them on that container of support payment plan. But, and everybody listen to this, please, because especially if Bob's working with a small business owner, let's say, they would love a tax write-off before the end of the year.
Mm.
So while Bob gets that yes, right? It's not, the goal isn't a yes, but he gets a yes or no. And the client says, great, let's go ahead and do it. We're only talked about so far that $600 container of support. Bob goes to take his credit card. He does all the things that we should with the credit card, taking their name first and all the things. And Bob goes, hey, did you want to go do this payment plan as we talked about, or did you want to go ahead and pay it in full? I know it's nice kind of get a tax break by the end of the year. Great. People say, yeah, no problem. Half the time people are just, they don't like payments and no problem. With pay in full, and I suggest you do that at any time, even if it's, this way. One thing you could do is you can just say, do you want to pay in full? Just ask.
Mhm.
They might just say yes. Or you could say, hey, I offer a slight discount, 20% off or $200 savings or however feels good, whatever one feels good to you
Yeah.
for folks that pay in full, right? And people are like, ooh, I love to save some money. Awesome. Let me pay in full. The third thing people do, and you really want to do what feels good to you, because like even like Megan's saying, like she doesn't want to discount that price anymore. Like it's already discounted too much for her as it is. So she could say, and I'll offer a bonus session before the end of the year. And I can actually bring you through this heart vision exercise I do with clients so we can help get some clarity before we dive in on that first call. Something like that, or the dream wheel exercise or whatever it is. Okay. So give something for free. That would be the other thing. Okay. Another thing. So say, Bob, let's say you, want to increase that price even more, right? 3,000 is still a very good price, especially at the level that you're offering. If you needed to bring that price down even more, you could do 6 months. And here's why. So even though you're starting in January, I suspect that with January and they're going to reschedule at least one call, that it would actually go into the 6th month. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so you might actually even have your first session the end of middle of January or something like that. So chances are you could even break it out into 6 months. So just
Mhm.
to kind of keep in your back pocket in order to work with the client to make it doable and feel lighter for them.
Mhm.
Okay.
I actually like the bonus session in December to get them started.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Anyone else? How does this feel? Awesome, Bob. And we can talk too about your question so we can connect. Yeah. Oh, Carlos, yes. Okay. Cindy asked, do I have a particular credit card service? Yes, I use Stripe. And the only thing that I really say is non-negotiable for credit card processing is that you can do reoccurring payments. So what's really nice is because I'll work with teams and I'll always put in a bonus for myself if we reach the goal within the set period of time. I don't have to grab their credit card again to run that bonus. I get permission via email to go ahead and run that bonus through, and then I can go into Stripe and run it. Okay, so it's really nice. Maybe you need to modify a payment plan. Maybe you didn't have that payment plan set up ahead of time. You can set up in advance a few activation fees. So, Bob might have the pay in full set up. He might have some scenarios. I was telling Steve's class yesterday, I'm a little a little superstitious. I always assume, right? I visualize what's going to happen on that sales conversation, and I have that payment form up. So I always have that up and ready to go. Okay. Any questions around this? Terry, how are you feeling over there? Gyota, how you doing? Any questions?
No, I looked into what PaperBell could offer, and there is a workaround in PaperBell, but I really like the idea of working in Stripe. I think it makes sense. I've looked into that. So.
Okay. I would love actually if you would be willing to share in the LinkedIn group your experience with PaperBell, if you recommend that to people and how you've kind of used this. Because PaperBell integrates with Stripe. Perfect. See, this is why this is awesome.
Yeah. I don't have it memorized, but I have it recorded, and I'm happy to share, and then maybe we talk about it some other time.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, not, yeah, in the LinkedIn group or just, know that anytime you guys learn something, it's really nice to share with the group. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and I don't think it feels true for this group, but maybe it is. I remember being in coach training and being a little bit, folks were shocked or hesitant to use other people's resources. Does anybody have that challenge or kind of mindset we need to get around? No? Okay, so you know it's perfectly acceptable to send somebody else's gift. It's perfect, somebody else's book. It's perfectly acceptable to pull up Atomic Habits for as example, open it up, use an exercise from that. This is literally why the dude wrote the book, like for you to use and share with your friends and purchase and all the things. So there's, you know, kind of this imposter syndrome, like it has to be mine and it has to be something I made up. Don't hesitate to chat GPT, you know, and you can say, here, there's no reason why you can't do that to get ideas, cite your sources, give credit where credit's due. And that's all you need to do. Okay. All right. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to think about, and I'd like to give you some support around reaching out to book these end of the year calls. Okay. So we always want to have 3 ways in which we are bringing in clients, our prospecting, always 3, because if you have one and it breaks down, right? So like 3 exits, right? We need 3 ways to bring clients in. So, so far we've talked about our champions, like, right, which is right where Megan's booked that sales or that sold to that client. That's perfect. Those are your champions. The next one is your watering holes. And that's what we talked about on the last call. Where are your people hanging out? Kind of where you're more like proactively going into and adding value. And the third one is LinkedIn, right? And those are really kind of being active on LinkedIn. And we'll talk about that today and I'll give you some support. One thing we talked about in our watering holes on the last 5 ways to find clients calls was hosting a workshop or an event. Well, LinkedIn helps us get that workshop or event out. And I'll share with you specifically today how you can push it out via LinkedIn and why it's such a great resource. And it just something I love. And you can do this organically. You don't need to run ads or anything. Okay. So first off, let's talk about your champions. And if you don't know what a champion is, you can go back to that first call, but this is your network. These are your people. Megan had somebody who was in her sphere of influence who knew her before, and they're like acquaintances who it's not a cold ask, it's warm. These can be family, friends, cousins, friends of cousins, anybody who's kind of in your circle of influence. Okay. So to these folks, we have a specific plan for you, and you should have a specific plan that you're enacting every day in regards to your champions for just 15 minutes. And so we want them to already be familiar with us. So I'm going to share my screen and share with you some resource I've created for you to reach out to them around the holidays. Before I do that, though, I actually would like to share with you kind of what goes through my head every day as I sit down to work. And there's 3 things that I'm focusing on every day without fail. The first one, and in order, is prospecting. Okay. What am I doing to bring new clients into my world? And I have several avenues for that. And the next thing I'm doing is serving my clients. Is tech working right? Have I reached out to people? Is anybody, not on the calendar? I'm looking at my Voxer, making sure I've responded to people, that sort of a thing. And then the third thing is bettering myself. So this kind of technique and way of doing your day, I worked with a coach named Daria Malin, and this just stuck with me. I mean, I've had lots of coaches over the years and lots of business partners and things, and that just stuck. So there's nothing else to do in your day, nothing else, right? If prospecting, you're focusing on your clients that you have already, making sure that they're cared for. And the third thing is something to better yourself. Okay. The other thing that this coach taught me that I would love to share with you, and I do those 3 things every day. And underneath those, I eliminate, automate, and delegate. Eliminate, automate, and delegate. I literally walk around the house going, what can I eliminate? What can I automate? And what can I delegate? Okay. So I eliminate things that aren't bringing me in prospects and new clients. I eliminate things that aren't bringing me in the right clients, right? I love to serve people who show up on camp, like, right? We're really working hard to get more of you that want to say, hey, I need support. I want you to walk this with me. What else can we eliminate? Maybe you could say, I eliminate my website right now. Like, what are these things that you can write down that you're doing, and what can be eliminated right now that aren't getting you towards your goal? And then what can you delegate? Fiverr is my best friend. I have some great people on there. There is many things you can delegate, from setting up an email sequence to writing the email sequence. How can ChatGPT make my life easier? What are these things that I need to get into place? And maybe sometimes something's blocking me, and I can delegate that and hire that out for a small bit of money. And Fiverr is just fantastic. I love it so much. Okay. So just kind of want to share with you that, that was like such a breakthrough for me somehow. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so I've put together some resources for you, and I just so geek out on marketing and emails and DMs and getting the wording just right so that it feels amazing for the other person. And that's what we want to do every time we do something, is think about, how do I want that person to feel when they receive that DM from me, when they receive that text message, when they receive that email from me. And don't worry, I'm going to share this with you, and you'll be able to copy it and use it for your own purposes. Okay. So think about how you want them to feel when they receive that, and then lead with that intention. Okay, so I suggest, as far as your champions go, that around the holidays is a really nice time to send out a letter. Okay, so I suggest 3 letters between now and the end of the year. And the gentle call to action should be, or could be, if you'd like, booking discovery calls for now for a new year start. Okay, so I'm going to let you just read over this for a quick second, and I'll show you how I modified this for my needs, and then you can modify it for yours. Everybody got it? Okay, so it's this is to somebody who, we're not strangers, we're sending it to them around the holidays. Notice the CTA, the call to action, is very simple and clear. Here, I took that and I personalized it for me. Okay, so I'm sending this out around the holidays, heading out to Ohio soon. Notice the subject line isn't clearly to everybody. It's like a little bit like, what are you talking about? Right? Let's get them to open the email. I don't like to use dear. So the family and I are getting ready to head out to Ohio for Thanksgiving. But before we dive into the holiday, I want to take a moment and send you a note of gratitude. Thank you for being a part of my journey this year. It's been an incredible one, with amazing breakthroughs from clients and so much clarity. Looking ahead, I have opening for private coaching starting in January 2025. I'd love to fill it up before the year wraps up. And do you know anyone in your network with a sales team who might benefit from my support? I recently worked with a client who boosted their close rate from 16 to 60. It's been truly rewarding. Please hit reply if someone comes to mind, and let me know how I can support your business in 2025 too, whether through my network, sharing your posts, or something else. Helping others succeed is truly my love language. Wishing you a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I look forward to catching up soon. Here, I told them exactly how to connect me and their colleague. This is exactly what I want to do, not LinkedIn, not anything else. Okay. And then I share a little something personal. How adorable does she look in that cast? I mean, oh my God. Last night, I woke up my husband. I was like, get up, there's somebody in the house. And it was the dog clunking around with her peg leg. She's so cute. Okay, so do you see what I did here? We had reached out to the clients before. So I'm assuming you did the thing from the previous training, right? With your champions. So this isn't out of the blue. And if it is, we can modify the language. But hey, just a personal thing. I'm going to Thanksgiving with, my family. I have this ask here. I'd love to support you. And oh, isn't that cute? Michelle, your dog's so cute. Oh my gosh. Yes, I have 2 sales teams. I'll be sure to CC you, right? I'll be sure to connect you. What they're not going to do is actually do it because people are forgetful. Okay. So you're going to say, yes, absolutely. I have 2 in mind. And I'm going to say, great. Thank you so much. Be sure to da-da-da-da. When they don't do it, I'm going to reach out again. Okay. When they don't do it and they said they would, I'm going to reach out again. 5 times. It's okay. Don't be weird about it. Don't bug them. Do it in subtle ways, maybe on LinkedIn, like some of their posts so you come up top of mind again. Find 5 ways to touch them. I shared this with Steve's class yesterday. This is in loving kindness. People are busy. You're not their number 1 priority, but they want to help you. They really do. So don't just ask once, they said yes, and then you run off and go, okay, I did the thing. Put it on your note, and Anne can drop the tracker for our champions if you want in the chat. Okay. But we want to reach out again. And it's just absolutely fine to do that 5 ways. Don't be like, you didn't do it, but be like, just these 5 little touches over the next 2 months or something, you don't want to do it in the next week. Okay. How does that feel to anybody? Do you have any questions? And Anne, I can't see the chat, so go ahead, Terry.
I have not sent out the initial newsletter that you suggested I do yet. So do you think I should start with that or go right into a more seasonal? And I don't know what the first one says. So
yeah, I would pull this, modify it for the season, and have the ask be very light. And actually, I would say the first one, I wouldn't put an ask in. I would just let them know what you're doing.
Okay.
And I would say the goal, Terry, should be to get a reply, right? So what can you say and how can you articulate that message that has them replying? I'd love to get your thoughts, and you can even write it and send it to me, and we can work on the verbiage to get them to reply. I'd be happy. Just drop a link in Voxer. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So great. And then your next one, right, in December can allude to this past one, right? Remember I told you about, well, I'm actually now opening up my beta program for January. Do you happen to know anybody at your office, fill in the blank, that would be interested in this? Okay, awesome. Any other questions before I go on?
I have a question. Would you recommend doing this for your email list or only one-on-one?
Yes. So if you have a specific ask, so for example, for me, Stacy, I have about 10 to 15 people who I know they know a sales team, and so I'm going to be strategic with those, and I'm going to send those and say, and do that and modify it specifically. So do you know any coach training programs that X, Y, and Z, right? So for you, if you had 15 champions that were in a business, a certain like healthcare, and say, I'm looking to help people in the healthcare industry. Do you know what I mean? So we could be really niche there, but then you make a more general one for your list, that you send out. Right. And this should be asking for referrals, especially actually for past clients would be awesome. So that would be a really fabulous thing too. Or if you practice coach, for those of you who are in coach training, you can do that. Okay.
Perfect. I'm afraid, I would maybe say I have openings, but not necessarily pro bono for my list, because at 14,000, I would get a lot of just free.
Yeah. No, you don't want to do pro bono, but you could say And actually we can talk about here, it starts about this goal identification call. So,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. So now we've done our first one. Let's talk about, another format or a second one. So this, now we've warmed them up with a few emails. We might feel confident to do more of a direct ask. So goals are weird. Like sometimes I just like, I'm good with subject lines. I'm just like, you're just intriguing, and you start to see what people open more and more as you get a system going. Okay. So, I've started something really fun with clients called a heart vision exercise. Have you ever done one? It's less woo-woo than it sounds. And this powerful exercise helps you gain clarity on what you truly want in business, life, and love. It's surprisingly eye-opening and an amazing way to set up your top 3 focus areas for 2025. As we approach the new year, I'd love to offer you or anyone in your office a 2025 top goal identification call. Okay, so like this more specific ask after they already know we're in coaching, or you could say, hey, as I start my beta program, that sort of a thing. This pro bono call will help you gain insight and a clear vision for the year ahead. I'm more than happy to share about my work if there's interest, but the main purpose is to support your goals in 2025. So do you see what I did there? It's not a sales call unless you want it to be. Okay. I really ask that you honor that. Something really icky about sales is being tricked, and we never want to trick someone. And so when we set up our call, we're going to set an intention like you do in step 1 of the 5 steps to choice and say, hey, if you'd like at the end, I'm happy to share with you how I work with clients and your next steps going forward, right? Like we'll set that up clearly, and then you'll stop clearly in that pro bono session and say, hey, we're getting to the end. I've had such a fun time with you. Would you like to hear more about how I work with clients? If you have time now, we can do it, or we're happy to schedule something in the future. Okay. So it's kind of an in-between. Go ahead, Steve.
So I like your letters. Would you say for this pro bono call that give like a time frame? It takes about 20 minutes. It takes 30 minutes.
I wouldn't give details here.
Okay.
You could put that on your booking page. Yeah, on your calendar booking page. And that's something we should really talk about. I'd like to have a full call on the calendar and booking and the intake form. I want to make sure everybody's getting that right, because it's just hands down across the board so important. Just a kind of a pro sales tip is the more details you give, the more reasons their brain has to say no. Okay, so if you say this call is Tuesday at 4:30, right? They'll go, oh, Tuesdays, that's my nap time, whatever, bocce ball. Like they'll just make up, it's like, oh no, that doesn't work for me. So the less details you can give, the better, because that's why our brain works. It's not trickery. It's like their brain is looking for an excuse. Don't give it to them. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that?
Michelle, you talked about the booking page. I use Calendly. Is that something I can just put into Calendly then?
Yep. So you schedule that in Calendly. Make sure you have a short intake form. We do have a training on that, and I'd happy to look at anybody's link. We should start a feed actually. LinkedIn might be a good idea for you to drop your calendar links in, because you want this to be really solid. This is where you're setting up your professionalism, your limited time, all those things we've talked about before. But yes, this is exactly where Calendly. So it's a fine line, and so when ideally you don't drop your scheduling link right away. Ideally you want somebody to say yes, and then you drop your scheduling link. Okay. So you might want to think about that. This is your second one, but I would actually modify this and say, hit reply to schedule. So we want if you this is like, when you leave somebody your payment link and go, okay, go ahead and enroll yourself, like they're going to wander off into the abyss and you'll never see them again. Okay. That's why we need to enroll them on the call. And it's not because they're not interested. Like they just got busy. Their brain found an excuse. all the reasons. I wanted to buy this choking device. My son, I don't know, he has a small esophagus. He tends to choke. And last night, I didn't have my credit card. I was laying in bed looking at it, right? And so I want that, but I wandered away, and who knows if I'll come back, right? So we just need to make it really easy for the person. So just hit reply to schedule. Let's change it. We want emails to be short. This is actually pretty long. I think like 200 words or less. You want them to be really short paragraphs. Okay, ChatGPT is your best friend. I write an email, then I put it in ChatGPT. I use the prompt and I say, rewrite this email, or I use the prompt that says polish if I really like it. Okay. Then it gives me something back, then I modify it again. Maybe I'll put it through ChatGPT again. But it's really quite nice. Okay. This is very cool. And I'm starting these letters actually on Thursday that always just tell a story. And so they're fun to read, even if it's just fun to read. So thinking of writing an email that you send regularly, or that in this third one, right? Because we've kind of said, hey, it's the holidays, I have an ask. And then we've had the second email, depending on where we are. And now third, we don't want to just send the same thing again, right? So we kind of need to entertain a little bit and sell through story. So I wrote this email, put it through ChatGPT, and then I put it back here again. And I pulled it being inspired from this, okay? Here's 3 ideas for subject lines. This year, we made a conscious decision to do less during the holidays, and it felt like a gift in itself. It all started this past summer when we kept things simple. No fancy trips, minimal camps, a 90s style summer where we nudged the kids out of the door and let them roam. And you know what? It was the best summer of my life. The kids were missing, this like literally happened, in the neighborhood for hours, hitting the pool, scavenging for coins at my parents' house. I was so proud of them. I used to do that in the 90s. Like, do you remember that? Like going in the car, trying to find the coins and catching frogs in the local creek. It was blissful chaos. So this holiday season, we're keeping things simple again. We're staying home, buying less, doing less, and just being. There's a beautiful freedom in lowering expectations and choosing to be fully present. This approach, mindful presence, living with intention, is exactly the work I do with my clients. And I'm so grateful for your support and champion my work throughout the year. Looking back at 2025, how can I support you? This is really important, everyone. You cannot ask people to support you and not give in return. In fact, I really ask that you do this first, if at all possible. Steve, if I can share personally, like, this man has championed me beyond measure. It is top of my list, and I have something really fun that I'm doing for Steve because he has championed me so much. Here's what Steve has done. Steve has told everybody the story of how we met. Steve has gifted my book. Steve has welcomed me when we met at an ICF conference, a Capital Coaches Conference recently. Steve invited me to speak at his event. Like, I want to return the favor because I think Steve is amazing. I love all that I'm hearing about his work, right? And I'm so grateful. So anyway, I have some really big fun things. There's 2, he spoke at the ICF Capital Conference. It was amazing. Everybody in this room, it was on suicide prevention. If you are a part of an ICF group, I would highly recommend having Steve come in. Today, I am reaching out to 2 places to suggest, 2 ICF groups to suggest that they have Steve in. I took the verbiage. I'm, not just saying, hey, you should meet this guy. Like, I'm sharing really the powerful impact that he made on me. And then I saw this opportunity for an award. Sorry, Steve, spoiler alert. And I'm nominating him and Maria for this award, right? And I'm taking time to do that, right? So you just you get back into the universe what you put out. And like, I want more Steves in my life. Like, I want more people that want to make the world a better place. And I'm genuinely committed to living my life that way. So when you can really think about that person, and maybe they can't even think about how you can champion them. Like Steve didn't ask me to champion him, right? But I could think about how I could champion that person. That's really powerful. So if you used to, like Megan would be a perfect example. You have people in recruiting and now you know people, right? From businesses and places. And even though that's not your job, you could still make an intro, so that's a perfect way you could champion people and then ask for those champions in return. If, maybe you don't even ask for that in return. You're just kind of putting that out there energetically. Okay. All right, wonderful. So let me keep going. I also just put some stuff in here for you. I'm going to share this with you after this call. And here are some DMs and text messages that you can send. Okay, same idea. Let's put them in a text format. You want to get it even shorter than this. Inviting them to the pro bono call or inviting people to book a call for your beta program you're starting in January is the theme of these. Okay. Last but not least is some webinar workshop ideas. And I put some down here and I was like, these are so fun. Okay, a vision board exercise. I know there's somebody in the program right now who does vision boards. This is what I really loved. SMART goals. Have you ever printed out and done a SMART goal? Are you familiar? Look this up. If you're not, it's a worksheet and it's so coaching aligned. And honestly, if you want to run one of these, like call me up, we could walk. It would be so easy. You just like bring people to it, walk them through their SMART goals. They'll be thrilled. At the end of the workshop, you can say, hey, I'd love to book a private session with you, discuss blah, 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 taking this into action. And I can help you out with that. Okay. So we're going to flow through those quickly. Any questions? This will be here for you and you can follow up with me on Voxer. Unmute yourself if you have a question. I want to show you if you want to take the next step on LinkedIn, and here is how you create an event. So you go like you're going to post, then you create an event, and then you add the event here. So if you wanted to do a workshop and you need support, I can help you with this, but this is where you do it. You'd pull up your cover photo, and I do this, so you could just even follow mine and see how I do it. Anne can help us out making a pretty template. Okay, so there's that image. The event format. I would suggest an external link because we want to grab their information. If you don't have a website yet, you could do a Google form. You could also do a Zoom registration link. So you can go into Zoom, set up a meeting that requires registration. Boom, you got them. All good. Okay, set your date and time and your description. This should be really powerful. Happy to help if anybody needs with that. Once you post that, now the cool thing is that you can invite 200 people a day. So there is an option there to say invite, and you can manually click and invite people. And it doesn't blast their feed. It doesn't do anything, but it shows up. And so Megan could really make that title appeal to her ideal client and say, career change in the new year, join me for a SMART vision exercise to narrow down your ideal job, whatever, okay? And then she sends those out to those people. So here's the thing, post this first. And I loved this advice somebody gave me, with the intention of nobody signing up. Okay. Post it with the intention of not booking a sales call. We're flexing that muscle and we're doing the thing. Just do it. Okay. That is such a win. I'm going to celebrate the heck out of you. And in fact, that's our November challenge, is to actually get no's. Okay. So doing the thing, that's a huge win, but getting 10 no's is my November, so clever, challenge for you. When we go out and we retrain our brain to not be fed with happiness at the win, but instead get that dopamine hit from the doing, it is so, so powerful. I love this challenge. I don't want 100 no's. I want 10. A no can be from a DM where you sent a similar to DM that says, hey, you want to book a call? Hey, want to, meet me for a SMART goal session, whatever it is. And they said, no, thanks. What you notice actually is in the DM language that I gave you, it says, do you know anyone else? And I love that because it's like, who do you, and you actually say, who do you know? And they'll say, oh, I have some ideas. I'm in a group. Let me post this. And I would actually love it too. So it's just a really nice way. And that's actually how I do it because I'm not super into DMs. But if it's like, do you know anybody in your coach training group? Do you know anybody in your workout group that would be interested in this? Any job boards you're on? And they're like, ooh, I can add value for my friends. Okay. No's from a DM count. If somebody has a question, you can go ahead. And no's from emails. No, I don't know anybody, but thank you so much. Okay. That counts towards your 10. We're going to have some prizes, cash prizes, coaching. And I'm even giving away some services from Anne. She doesn't know yet. But I'm going to do that. So, and to enter, you just have to get 10 no's. Okay. 10 no's. That's it. So I'm going to really celebrate you. I think this will be really fun. Go for it, Karen.
My question is, I was thinking this right as you started talking about trying to get 10 no's and to set your intention of nobody signing up. But what do you do if you do put this out there and nobody signs up or 1 or 2 people sign up? How do you handle that?
Really great question. You recruit your friends to join the group. Okay. And like, oh, I'm in, right? So we're your champions. So post that, ask us to share it. Okay. Ask for the support you need. I'll be there.
Can I add to that too, Michelle?
Yeah.
If it's okay. I also just wanted to offer, it's not a waste of time at all, because what I found is if you can record that training and then offer it as a lead magnet, like with like a, like your MailChimp attached to, like watch my free training on blah, blah, blah. Then you can still potentially get leads and future clients, even if it's just us and your friends on the call.
Perfect. Absolute perfection. So the other thing you can do is you could pay for a Zoom upgrade, do webinar, and then people can't see each other. It's not as powerful because you're not connecting, but that's how I started, because I was like, I'm like advertising this thing, blasting it. And I'm like, what if there's nobody there? And it was just felt good for me to have that safety, and people enrolled. And I was like, oh my God, imagine now if I take that away, what that's going to, And so yes, whatever gets you started. And I can help you with that, Karen, if you need support with setting up the webinar. And Google and ChatGPT are your best friends too. It is a little bit expensive, but if that gets you started, you're completely off the hook. Say whatever the heck you want. Nobody's there. Just erase it after, and yay, you've done the thing. And I think that can count as 2 no's. Like that's a big one. So absolutely amazing. Okay. If you would like to join the November challenge, please put your name in the chat. And we are actually going to send you out support resources in between our time together. Okay, so we're going to try that. We're always kind of modifying and working to help out level of support. And a really big thing is knowing somebody's rooting for you and just having that extra, hit of dopamine to do the thing. And so if you'd like to join the November challenge, put it in the chat and we will add you to that list to support each other. Okay. All right. So let's recap today. We celebrated Megan. Yay. We are stepping into pricing and selling for the new year. We are focusing on booking calls around that idea. No commitment, nothing right now. We start in the new year. And we have some resources to help us do that. We have our 3 areas that we're focusing on: our champions, our watering holes, and our LinkedIn events. Hosting something on our LinkedIn, that's the 3rd area in which we've introduced to you a way to bring in clients, okay? We always want to have 3. Awesome. Is there anyone else? So I'm sorry we didn't get to those volunteers. And actually, I'll get with Anne after and I'll reach out to you privately if you did volunteer. If you need support around your watering hole, please reach out to me by Voxer. Some of you are doing amazing at taking advantage of this. Anne keeps saying, Michelle, I can't believe you offer that. She paid $2,000 for 1 week of coaching.
3,000.
3,000 week of coaching support, just Voxer. Okay. The value in this is what I use for my $20,000. Like, take advantage. There's almost like no question at this point I can't answer. And I love to do it. It is absolutely my joy. It's my love language to help you sign those clients. Okay. Anything else as we finish up today? Bob, go ahead.
You talked about the SMART goal workshop. Typically, how long does that go? That 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Stuff, it lasts 60 minutes so easily.
Yeah.
As you see today, I mean, it just flies by.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can have a lot of things on your calendar. Anne knew. She was like, oh, you're not getting through all of those today, Michelle. She knew, but I still go, I need to have that in the background, to.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I would say 60 minutes at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to get more information on that particular workshop.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. If I could ask, could you
Voxer?
Voxer me and
Okay.
I'll send you a link to it. Also, you can go in ChatGPT and say, what is SMART goals? SMART. You could probably capital. I think it stands for something.
Yeah.
actually-
No, I've got worksheets on it. I was just curious about
Oh.
the specific workshop format, how you go about doing it.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's,
Good.
I geek out on marketing, so I'll help you. I'll help you too much. We'll write the emails. Anne can help you with the title.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's design it. And then we can all go to Bob's event and support him. Yes, sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
And last question, where are you going in Ohio for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. Okay. Wrong side of the state.
Where do you live, Bob?
Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati. Okay.
Yep.
Neat.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're from North Olmsted, Julie. Are you? Oh, wow. So my husband grew up in Youngstown, near Youngstown, Canfield. And we actually lived in Canfield, Ohio for the first 2 years of our courtship. We say it was the best years of our life. Like, there's just like no pressure for anything. Like, I fantasize about going back and buying the house we rented. Anyway, okay. Enough about me. Anybody else? Any other questions as we finish up today? Go ahead, Cindy.
So, do you think that if we don't have our ICF certification, we can still be kind of going forward and marketing ourselves? I mean, we do need to get coaching in order to get certified.
My dear, absolutely not. No one is ever going to ask you if you have that ICF certification, except if you're working in corporate. And even then, I'm suspicious if they're even going to ask. Okay. So no, absolutely not. Great question.
The other thing I just wanted to throw in there is if anyone needs any help with this, like something like with cultural norms, I'm sort of thinking around the holidays. I'm always happy to help somebody like phrase something for their Jewish clients around this time of year, because, sometimes like sending out a whole group email, if somebody is not Christian, they may feel like, oh, that doesn't really hit right. So anyway, just throwing it out there. I'm happy to help with the Jewish
Or
segment.
we're, you
I've
know,
worked in that world for so long.
yes. Well, I love really being culturally sensitive and speaking directly to your clients, right? Not being tone deaf if they, live in Canada and we're sending out Thanksgiving emails or,
Right.
it's just, do you really care about me? Like, you don't even know where I live. So
Right.
I think that is a fantastic point. Cindy, thank you so much. Would the best way to get a hold of you is LinkedIn, or how would you like people to contact you if they'd like to take advantage of that?
You know what? I'm going to stick my email in. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Anything else as we finish up? Go ahead, Karen.
I think you probably answered this. So if you want me to stay on the call afterwards, I don't want you to repeat yourself to everybody, but I was busy like taking notes and looking at the handouts that Anne put in the thing, and it caught my ear. Just hit reply to schedule as like part of your email thing. And then I missed if you were talking about like, then how do you schedule them? Like you send them back, hey, I think you said not to do this Tuesday at 4:30. Does that work?
Yeah.
If you hit reply to schedule, then what's the next step? I guess that's my
Yes.
question.
No, it's such a fine dance because you just want to put your calendar link because that's the easiest, right? But then, yes, then you've kind of broken the line of communication. So if you say hit reply to schedule, that's very vague. What does that mean? And so they'll hit reply and go, hey, I'd like to schedule. You go, great, and they might suggest some days. Awesome. I have Tuesday and Friday. Does that work for you? Great. So that's ideal, is to get the specific day booked. It's a little hard because now they haven't filled out your intake form because you're scheduling it for them. But you've got the call. So I would do it, schedule them, and then find a way to send them that intake form and do that free. Yeah. And then reach out, right? Reach out to me and ask, and I'll help you with that next step.
Okay.
But yeah, if at all possible, you kind of want to go back and forth and say, I have these few days. If they ask for a scheduling link, you'll have that handy, but, perfect. Okay.
One question. So can you put that intake form into Calendly? I know that we talked a bit about Calendly.
Yes, you can. And Cindy, let me go back up to the module and make sure that there's an intake form in that module. It's called, help me out here, Anne, schedule your calls like a pro or something like that. It's one of the first modules and it walks you through the intake form and all those things. But let me make sure that I have a good example for you there. And I can pull some up from clients or whatnot to put in. You want that intake form to get them excited about the call while gathering a little bit of information.
That'd be great.
There's some tips and tricks I have there, like click, yes, I agree to show up on time and ready for my call. Weirdly enough, that little box does the trick. Weirdest thing. They're like, I clicked the box. I need to show up. You're like,
I promise.
Totally.
And then what you gave us the forms that you shared today, are you going to email them to us? How do we get those?
If you guys can wait, I can share them now. It's not perfect, but that's okay. Let's see. How do I do that?
I think the module is 5 golden rules of a sales call setup.
Oh, thank you.
That's the title of it. It's the first one there.
Okay, so I am, if anybody wants to know how to create a doc like this, maybe you guys all know this and you're like, look, lady. But I took the form that I made for you, a Google form, and instead of sharing, do I delete this whole thing, Anne?
You go all the way through to the edit.
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Like that?
You can say copy or you put template.
Oh, really?
/preview. I like that. That's just how I do it.
Okay, here you go. So now you can make a copy. Okay, so make a copy and rename it for yourself. I'll put it in the chat here. And as you do that, everybody feel free. We're officially done. Thank you so much for being on this call today, for adding in all of your wisdom and joy. So happy to have you here. If anybody's willing to share like a takeaway from this call today that they had, something you want to be sure you're going to remember, that sort of a thing, and you're willing to unmute yourself and share that, I would totally appreciate that as we work to improve each time.
I'm definitely doing a little workshop on LinkedIn. I hadn't even considered that. So I'm
Awesome.
excited about that.
Awesome. Okay, good, good, good. Yes, ask for support too, because I've done a lot of those too, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. And each have pros and cons. So awesome, Stacey. That's exciting. Cool.
Make sure you invite us.
Yes.
I will. Yes.
Absolutely.
Same here. I feel so empowered after these calls because you give us the how-to.
hmm
And it's just like so tangible. Here, just write an email similar to this one. And, it's like I've just been working in this and trying to figure out my way to do all of this without any kind of business or marketing background. And this is like the golden nugget for me of just here's how you do it. And this is how you get success. And I actually had a call this week with a prospective client, and I did the dream vision or the heart vision exercise with her, and she was just like, sign me up.
No way.
The mistake I made was I didn't talk about my pricing with her. So lessons to learn, but I still got her. So I have to go back and have that conversation because I offered her a special intro offer that I have right now to do 2 sessions. And then, I'll have to hook her down the road. But I knew as soon as I hung up that I should have talked about the pricing. And I think the reason I didn't is I was afraid I was going to undersell myself like I usually do. And so I've got to practice.
Okay, so can everybody give Karen love in the chat? Like, Karen, this is winning. This is winning, right? Yes. You did the thing. She loved the heart vision exercise. She said yes, yes. Everyone listening, anybody to the recording, this is really where I can come in. So Karen, when you get off that call and you're like, oh, I wish I would have, give me a message. Okay. 9 times out of 10, I have an idea for how we can not fix, but you know what I mean? What your next step can be to help you. So if you got a maybe, or you got a, hey, let's talk Thursday, and you're like, oh, I wish I would have, gosh, what should I have done? Call me, because one, I'm going to high five you and celebrate, because that's huge. And then I can help you take that next step. Okay. Yes, Karen. Okay. Awesome. I'm so glad. Karen, I do have a question for you. You don't have to answer it right now. But so what's the saying, action or goals without action is just ideas or something? I don't know. I'm totally getting that wrong. So now we know what to sell. Then we know how to sell it, and we know what to do to take those action steps. But still, right? Life gets busy. Our fear gremlins get loud. How do we, and there's community, and there's coming back to these calls, and I can't do it for you, right? But how do I keep that motivation level up in between those calls? And so we're going to, try with those emails and some outreach in between to try to, keep the spark up with that November challenge. But if there's any other ideas that you have in order to help keep that camaraderie and that motivation up in between, I would love. I'm all ears. Gyota, how are you doing? Sorry, go ahead.
Michelle, I was just say my big takeaway was just the ideas of pre-selling for January. There's several of those things that I have contemplated, but you package it together. And now I've just created a wonderful to-do list. So I'm ready to go.
Good.
Really good. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Make it a to-done list, and then please reach out to me to celebrate. That's really, I'm rooting for you, and I please do that. Take advantage. Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Anyone else as we finish up today, and feel free to jump off that call.
I'll give a quick comment. So I'm a full-time student, and my takeaway is to make prospecting number one each day, which for me means I need to combine that with watering hole because I'm studying and I'm behind my desk a lot. So I'm going to go to a coffee shop where I know where my prospective clients are and work there. And that will kill two birds with one stone. That's my takeaway.
Yes. And if it's okay, I have an idea. In that coffee shop, there is a job board, I bet. Is there a tack board in the coffee shop? Look for it next time. And what are people struggling with? Procrastination, that sort of, what can we put up there to do those? They're going to the bathroom. They're sitting there working. What do you want to say to them? Hey, would you like some coaching around X, Y, and Z, or your roadblocks, or your career goals, or your love life, or whatever it is? Anyway, just a little idea there. Sometimes it's simpler than you think. Yay! Awesome.
Hi,
Anyone else?
Michelle.
Otherwise, go ahead.
Hi, Michelle, because you asked for me earlier. So I really like the idea to eliminate, automate, and delegate. And actually, I had a few calls with some marketing experts, not from Fever, but from something similar to support me on this. And I think it's a good idea because also I have a full-time job. So in order to combine both, I need to delegate these kind of things.
Yes.
And regarding like having a webinar or a workshop or something like that, I haven't been doing that, but because currently I am in a communication group club. So like people who actually want to like build better communication skills, public speaking skills. So this kind of group also gives me the opportunity to speak about my coaching or prepare speeches where I can present myself in a nice environment, safe environment, no judgment. So I feel more confident in sharing what I'm doing now because I am doing it for this purpose for the communication club.
Perfect.
And I think it's a good idea for someone maybe who wants to try it in a safe environment rather than going to LinkedIn or another platform.
Gyota, I think that's a fabulous idea. What's a safe environment where you can practice this out, and everybody has some sort of club or group or church or, school, whatever it is, group that you could put this in. So fantastic. Thank you so much. We're so glad you're here.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else as we finish up the call today? I just realized I left my next meeting hanging, so I better go. I hope everybody has a great weekend. There's a snowstorm today. It's a day off for the kids. So I'm going to bundle them up and, do what I said in that email, make them get lost in the neighborhood here for an hour, send them off, make sure they're warm. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. We'll talk to you soon.